Hello and welcome back to the Pulse Social Sports Podcast. My name is Paddy, and in this episode we're speaking to Josh White, an employee from Influencer, a company who has experience running mental health workshops and taking a proactive approach to its employees' well-being.
So yeah, I just want to say thanks again for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, thank you for having me.
So we'll just open out a little bit with who are you, whereabouts are you from, and where are you based, and just a bit about yourself, really.
Yeah, so my name is Josh. I am from Manchester originally, but currently working in London for Influencer. About me, kind of feel like I've forgotten it during lockdown, but I'm kind of into fitness and bit of gaming and stuff, which the gaming stuff's definitely helped throughout lockdown. I guess nothing else to do really. So 23 years old and trying to work hard.
No, definitely. And so obviously, you said you work at Influencer. Can you just tell me a little bit about the company? What do they do, and what do you do in relation to the company?
Yeah, so we're an influencer marketing tech platform. So basically what that means is we have our own platform where we're able to take data and insights around creators and brands, basically with the aim of matching the right creators with the right brands to create authentic storytelling within our influencer marketing campaigns. So obviously, for example, if you're looking at say like a fitness apparel brand, you're going to be looking for a creator who's got an audience with an interest in fitness, and we're able to look at that information and also look into where the audience lives and whether they're the right age group and stuff like that, and basically make sure that influencers are right for the brands and that the brands are also right for their creative narrative, I guess. Obviously something might be a bit out of place, say if you have a male who's advertising women's perfume, it might be a bit out of place. The company was founded by Ben Jeffries and Casper Lee, the YouTuber, which is really interesting to be working with them. I think Casper Lee, for example, being a big YouTube himself with 7 million subscribers, he brings a valuable amount of insight into how we best support creators throughout getting the right brand deals and executing the brief of the campaign as best as possible. That's basically the sum of it, long story short.
No, definitely. So you mentioned that you were interested in fitness and interested in gaming and stuff. And keeping this on the topic of kind of wellness activities and kind of sporting that can help both your mental and physical well-being. What type of wellness activities are offered by Influencer, but also what well-being activities do you do in your own time?
So from the company, obviously throughout lockdown, it's had to be a lot of focus on the mental side because there's not an awful lot you can do physically. I know before lockdown, as we were growing as a company, we were kind of discussing things like getting gym memberships and stuff like that across the board. But obviously that's kind of been on hold. But I have to say the company's been great on the mental health side of things. So we do a lot of kind of socially focused things. Because obviously one of the big issues that people are facing nowadays is the lack of social interaction and kind of keeping a community going. So we have I'd say almost bi-weekly, maybe even weekly kind of panels where in the past for International Men's Mental Health Day, we did a men's mental health panel where myself and a few of the other guys in the office kind of spoke about our experiences as males and how mental health is perhaps a bit of a different challenge than for females, which is something that's it really helps build a bit of a community going on in the across the company. And even as recently as last week or the week before, we did a positivity panel, which was with Casper Lee, a couple of people from the office, and Oliver Proudlock from Made in Chelsea, who's a friend of Casper Lee's, and they just kind of came on talking about how to stay positive that lockdown, what techniques they use, how to maintain sleep and fitness and stuff like that. So there's a real good effort from the company to keep that up, and you can definitely see the benefits from that going through. Personally, my big thing is working out. I was into it a bit before lockdown, but definitely become more of a focus throughout working from home and staying fit and healthy, and just taking a bit of time to step back from the monotonous lifestyle that is living and working from home, and kind of taking my mind off things as much as I can. And I try my best to practice just general mental wellness. I've tried meditating and yoga and stuff, and trying to keep it up. I guess yoga is not really my forte because I'm not the most flexible person in the world. But yeah, just doing what you can. I think that's another good thing about the company is you're kind of constantly sharing resources and ideas about how to stay mentally and physically well, and you kind of take that on and try new things and see what works for you, basically.
No, definitely. And it sounds really interesting how your company's really taken this aboard, and that's really good to see. And what do you think have been the reactions or the effects more of these workplace wellness activities and the workshops and the panels that you've been hosting?
I think definitely the big thing is that kind of feeling of having a support network and staying socially interactive with people around you. And just knowing that we're incredibly lucky. I know not all companies are as focused on this kind of thing as influencer is. We're incredibly lucky to have that, and I think you can see that in people's commitment and passion for what we do. And there's a general idea of we really want this company to do well. I think at the end of the day, none of us want this company to end because we're losing out on a great value of mental wellness. So that obviously is reflected in how hard we work and our just motivation every day to go into it. And I think as well, it's kind of fostering a culture of openness and supporting one another. And you can kind of see that in the amount of conversations people are having kind of on a more personal side with each other and staying close together. I think a lot of people have developed in a kind of paradoxical way even better relationships with one another, even though they haven't seen each other for close to a year. I think you're forced to speak a bit more deeply and openly with each other rather than just kind of the general coffee chat you get in the mornings in the office.
No, definitely. And obviously, so you've mentioned how you and your colleagues are getting closer and being more connected, even though we're far apart, as much of a cliche phrase as that is. Do you think that these projects have been good for workplace morale at all?
100%, yeah. I mean, looking at it kind of like in a quantifiable way, I mean, we've had quite a low turnover throughout lockdown. No one's really left the company. Obviously, that could be attributed because people don't want to take big career changes nowadays because it's a bit difficult at the moment to find new job stuff. But I think you can just see it in people's attitudes. It's remained incredibly fun and to work, and people are kind of like good chat with each other on the group chats and all that, and staying up. It's obviously hard to really put into words, but yeah, I mean, you just get a good vibe from the company at the moment. It's really paying off, I think, in terms of morale.
No, definitely. It's really good to see, especially during lockdown again when it has been tough. And speaking more about you personally, do you think that these activities have had an effect on your mental and physical health?
Definitely on the mental side, yeah. Just being quite a young person in your career, it's good to know that you're kind of at a company where they do genuinely care about your personal and mental development. I know, like a lot of people, if you're joining like a huge company, you might not be as much of a focus because it's hard to keep track of these thousands of employees some companies have. But I mean, for me personally, it's been great to know that, especially for someone from Manchester moving to a new city, but then not really being able to make the most of that, still having a big network of people who you can rely on in the city is great. Like it's obviously one of the best jobs I've ever had so far. I've only really done like part-time stuff beforehand, but I love it, and you kind of have that family feeling going on in the company. So yeah, definitely really helped me out mentally. Yeah.
No, definitely. It's really good to see. And you mentioned about large companies and small companies. Would you say that with larger companies, you're more like a drop in the ocean as opposed to smaller companies when you can actually be looked at a bit more? Would you say that there's an influence, or would you say that there's a difference between the two in terms of these wellbeing activities at all?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak, massive for every single large company there is. I can only really speak on the experiences that I've kind of shared with my mates who work at larger companies. It is obviously harder to spend time on every single person in large companies, quite granularly, their like mental and career development and all that. Even though they might have the resources to do it, which is a startup like ourselves might not necessarily have, but as we grow, we're able to invest more time and money into it. But I don't think it's a malicious thing on behalf of kind of like larger companies. It's just harder to manage and harder to execute in a meaningful way. And I think that's the crux of it, is because we're only just kind of phased out of that startup idea of a company. We're kind of moving into like a scale up area, but because it's such a new company, we're able to really put mental and just general wellness into the actual core culture of the company. It's not something that, you know, these companies have been established like hundreds of years ago. It's hard to change a culture once it's there and established. And because like I said, we're kind of growing from the ground up. Those become core pillars in the culture of the company and what it means to be part of the Influencer team, and translates into our work as well. So I think that's something that's quite important. It's about meaningful care towards your employees. It's because you can get a lot of kind of, I guess, I don't know what the word is. It just not deep. It's kind of marketing speak almost. Like they'll say they care about the wellness, but there's no actual execution. Whereas you kind of do see it here. People are, you know, it's reflected in how the team treat each other.
No, definitely, I completely agree with that. And just one final question, if you don't mind. Do you think that physical and mental wellness within the workplace should be more prominent to bosses and employers at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, anything that like we've spoken about for today, there's so many benefits to it. I think especially that I think that's one of the silver linings to this pandemic, is that it's a huge shift in you know, your work environment and your lifestyle and everything. I think a lot of companies are seeing the need for things like flexible working hours, you know, whether you work from home or in the office, and maintaining proper communication with employees, making sure that they're feeling good basically throughout the work. Obviously, when you're trying to balance so much stress, that is going to affect work, I guess. And I think the way that I think companies look at it is you're investing in your employees. They're, you know, essentially the most valuable capital you'll have as a business, especially when you're working with top tier talent, and that's going to mold the future of the business. You need to have a support network for that, and make sure that there's longevity to how long someone can work in it. And obviously the big reasons why people will leave a company, like some of the most common reasons why people leave, is because there's a lack of respect and care from the employees. Somewhere we're spending 40 hours of your waking hours every week. You need to know that you're cared for. But I think to expand on that even more, I think even beyond kind of employees and bosses and stuff, I think this is something that needs to be kind of etched into more areas of life. You know, there needs to be wellness teachings in schools and throughout university. I know university is a particularly good area where a lot of students' mental wellness is on paper cared for. It's really hard to execute. But I think it's something that just needs to be taught and really nurtured just throughout life, not just in work as well.
No, definitely. I completely agree with everything you've said. And I think it's really interesting how you bring up schools and unis that should be doing this. Yeah. That's all the questions I've got for today. I just want to say a massive thanks for taking the time and coming to speak to us.
Anytime. Again, thank you for having me. I think it's great to have these kind of conversations about wellness. I think it's something that's coming to the forefront, definitely, and hopefully these kind of conversations change some in the future. We'll see. But yeah, thank you for having me.
That's all we have time for this episode. A massive thank you to Josh, and a thank you to our listeners at home as well. For more content like this, please like and subscribe to our YouTube, our LinkedIn, our Facebook, or our Twitter at Social CIC. That's all for today. See you next time.